classrooms, because the refresher courses and the orientation courses were just doing a battery of sessions together, weaved together with relatively very limited output. With very limited output, people were just sitting there doing these courses for the sake of the certificate only, and the real outcome and the input was what was missing. So then teaching learning was found relatively better. See, that could focus on a subject, teaching and learning of chemistry, teaching and learning of history, teaching and learning of economics. So all these things were put together separately, so that people on the subject base, this thing could come and really enhance their capacities as teachers. In fact, at NIEPA we have the National Resource Center for teachers in higher education. Right now there are about 12 lakh teachers in higher education, and by 2020 we expect the teacher in higher education to be about 15 lakhs. So 15 lakh teachers and a web portal base, because we feel that the teachers themselves want to improve. So they should have a complete body of knowledge subject wise, where you say that for my X subject you have all the list of journals. How many of you can claim that I know all the journals in my subject? No, none of us, right? So, but there should be a list of all the journals, the international ones, the national ones, the refereed ones, the scopus. So what we are trying to do at NIEPA is that how do we now find the connection or closing the gaps between these three important areas. So how do we close the gap, and how do we find connections between the disconnect between teaching, learning, curriculum and evaluation. So what we've tried to do is that in this whole process, we have tried to see that 10 subjects we've started off with: economics, history, political science, sociology and social sciences, physics, chemistry, maths and biology, education and management. We started with 10 subjects. So what we've tried to do is that looked at three components which actually can close the gap between this deep disconnect among teaching, learning in higher education. So first is the content knowledge or the domain knowledge. So in that domain knowledge, we have tried to list the major subjects. We looked at all the curriculums in the major universities of the country. The top universities as per the ranking: JNU, Delhi University, BHU, then some of the other prominent universities. We look at the curriculum. We try to see what were the common papers of areas of studies, and from them we have tried to list a complete listing of the journals, and which can be upscaled also. Supposing today we start with about 20 or 30 journals in X subject, then we are constantly updating that and bringing it to a number where everybody knows all the journals, at least in their particular subject or domain area. So first is the content knowledge. So a list of books, the standard books, not the champion guides and the other kunjis, but the standard textbooks in different subjects. So textbooks, journals, other resources also, the open educational resources, OES, all that is being collated and assembled under one portal of National Resource Center at NIEPA, which I am coordinating, and Sudhanshu sir was here in the morning. He is heading that and I am coordinating that. So we are getting one domain knowledge. Next thing that we found was, a little missing was, the resources that related to research, enhancing the research capacities. So we have taught, with theme-wise, we have done the same thing, getting, journals on research methodology, books on research methodology, other resources on research methodologies in different areas of, sciences, the natural sciences, the social sciences, and education. So all the three together we have got assembled. We have looked at the reports and we are trying to find out what's really relevant there, and we have been able to collect and collate all that information. The third area that we found missing was, on teaching learning, and in which, we said that, what are the resources that a teacher in higher education would want to read. Supposing you are a biology teacher, so what are the resources that you can look at without really, because we are limited to how we have been taught and to what is being there in the Indian conditions only. But we need to go beyond and outside and see that how the resources are available and how they can be used. So we have taken, open resources from MIT for physics, right? So at MIT there were some open resources which can be used for a physics teacher. So without spending much and without going much, you can either learn from that and use it in your classroom, or you can use the resource as available on the web under the platform of National Resource Center. So we are collecting that so that we have all sources available under one platform. Now also that sometimes we get stuck. As students, we did not have been doing that thing, and the knowledge is growing. So if we want to update our knowledge and come up, then we are also wanting to have an open line platform, right? A kind of a Quora platform. You people have worked on Quora, the question answer platform. So the Quora platform, so in the National Resource Center, we're going to have a Quora kind of a platform. We can call it by any other name, where suppose you want to do research in a new area. So you can ask your questions, they will be answered by experts, and then there can be a community, a network of teachers with similar ideas who can work together and can come out with a lot of new ideas together, working together. Because sometimes we feel that this journey is very isolated, it's alone, and that there is nobody to share your ideas, because once you go back home there are other responsibilities and distractions, and there you feel very left out, and you are not able to talk to people with a similar kind of a background knowledge. So supposing you want to do something in sociology or economics or history or any other subject, we will keep updating and upgrading that. So in that you have a community of teachers who will come together and help you that, okay, this is what I have done, this is what you have done, these are the new researches, you can share them, you can exchange them, and you can build a body of teachers who can help you do your own task better and also better themselves. So this is what we're doing at the National Resource Center there at NIEPA, trying to actually find the connections between the disconnect. Teaching, learning, research, curriculum planning, curriculum development, how to go deep, how to use applications there, how to design applications, because employability and other various that students come out of a certain level of education, but they don't know how to write an application, they don't know how to do this. So how do we weave in the application part of the curriculum into their own abilities? How to build competencies against curriculum. Curriculum is one part, but how to build competencies with that curriculum is something that the teacher needs to know through innovative methods of teaching, learning, and also through evaluation. So you can be very, very innovative in terms of evaluation. Like I have myself tried in my classes. Students are always very, very scared of exams, isn't it? So what I've said is that, okay, you are scared, so you give me the questions. So students have given me the questions. I said, you look what you want to answer. So they've given me the questions. I said, now that you have given me the question, give me the choice of asking you some out of all that you have given. Right? So when they give me 10 questions, I pick up 5 and I ask them. I said, these are the questions you have given. So it's not that always I will give the question. You can have new methods, and then you can choose as per the objectives of your course. Because ultimately what happens is that you need to align everything to the objectives of the course. The course that you're teaching, what are the objectives? How far the students have fulfilled that, and how far successfully they have been able to attempt questions in order to answer the objectives of your particular course, and that solves the problem. So everything has to be aligned. Apart from that, the ministry started with another, which is called, they call it the ARPIT program, the annual research refresher in of discipline specific subjects. So in that, your teaching learning center here, the Guru Angad Dev I just saw, has got the online MOOCs course on chemistry. Right? We are doing an online course on educational planning and administration. And similarly, there are 75 of them all over the country with different kind of subjects there. The political science is with the Rani Durgavati University, Jabalpur. The economics is with Mumbai University. Mathematics is with NIT Warangal, and so you can, instead of coming here and being away from the classrooms, you can do an annual refresher program through the MOOCs course, sitting at home or sitting in your college. You can do that program. It's a 4-quadrant approach where you will get all the material. You will be asked to reflect and also to do some questions and do some readings, and you can do the refreshers that you do need to be away from your college or from your home for about 3 weeks. You can do them sitting at home and learn and get a certification which will be mandated by the UGC also. So you can do them. So basically, one has to understand the processes of what goes into making of a good student and a good teacher in higher education, which nobody has really done research to say. Because we have, education you say is already sidelined, and higher education is further double sidelined. Still you find that people who work on education work on school education quite a bit, but on higher education you hardly find where you have some substantial evidence-based research to say this works and this does not work. In NIEPA we have a Center for Policy Research in Higher Education which takes researches on different areas, but it's a very new center, so only very limited kind of researches, 5-6 researches are going on at an all India level to say that what works, what doesn't work, on quality, on governance, on teaching, learning, on different kind of things. So that is going on, but we really don't have evidence beyond that to say that what really works, what really doesn't work. So teaching, learning is a slightly, on the face of it looks very easy. Oh, I have done my masters or an MPhil or a PhD, so we always feel that we are ready to teach. But that readiness is what needs to be questioned. How ready we are. Are we able to take a good class throughout the year continuously for a number of years? How ready are we? Are we really ready? Are we really trained? Do we understand what goes on in the process? Classroom management is not such a big issue. When people say that you will not be able to manage the class. Management is, the secondary issue about classroom discipline and management. What you really need to be really cautious is about, are you able to connect to the students in a way that you are able to penetrate their mental processes? At cognitive level, are you able to go deep? Is there any synchronization between what you are saying and the minds of the students that you are dealing with? Is there anything, or are you just feel that you're fit to take a class? So how this thing, because every other profession in India, whether it is army or bureaucracy or whatever, you have a probation time. Even in teaching you have a probation time, but that probation is very much unprobation-like, where you are given the classes and you're doing all the regular duties, and by the end of the time you get a probation closure letter that you now become permanent. But how far have you? There is no mentoring, there is no guidance. In fact, the Higher Education Funding Council in UK actually has a hand-holding process, that you sit in the classes, how you are mentored by a senior how to take classes. Also, you also get to know that in your specialized area, where do you get research grants? Because as a teacher, you're supposed to do some research also. But without the grant, how do you do a research? How much can you just read and write and produce a few papers for the sake of production? So, in case you are from the next thing, so where is the grant available in your specific subject? Whether it is physics or it's history, where exactly do you do that? And how do you write a proposal to get that grant? Here, how have we learned all this? Has anybody taught you how to write a research proposal to get a grant? Because the proposal that we write for a PhD synopsis is very different from a research grant proposal, because in which you will do a budgeting also. You will have to know the budgets. So at what rates you pay what and how much. So how do you learn? If you are, through your informal networks is what you learn. Somebody had praised a proposal in CSIR or ICSSR or UGC, they tell you how to do a little budgeting. But still, when you submit your proposal, you're not very sure if the budgeting that you've done is really good enough or not. So how do you do a budgeting? So all this is kind of a hand-holding process, where you go, you say that you are from a particular field, and somebody actually hand-holds you to go ahead and get funding from XYZ, because once you submit your proposal, then it's a competitive process. Hundreds of proposals and only 5 will get through. So how do you get that? How do you make yourself more competitive in the finding grants? How do you get more competitive in getting into a good teacher? Like in Australia, you have the Office of Teaching and Learning. It's recently closed down, but we had got an invite to go and visit the Office of Learning and Teaching. So how they treat their teachers, when the Prime Minister's award is more or less like the Oscar there in Australia for the teachers. So they actually go through the same process, and they go and they visit and they see which teacher is doing how and what, and then they give an award. So that is equivalent to almost, the best teachers award is a very valued teacher there, and he gets on to get quick promotions and more determined positions in terms of deans and rest of it in the later on in their life. So the whole process is that how do we treat our teachers? That's also something really missing from the system, that we don't really give that kind of value to our teachers, and the teacher is left in a lurch to fend for themselves and to find their ways forward. There is nobody to guide you except through your informal networks for anything that you need in life. Whether you need a grant, whether you need teaching learning, whether you want some points for promotions, or how do we go out the promotions, that is all left to the teacher themselves to fend. So that is what is something that is not guided here, and the teacher, there is a lot of informalization and casualization of the teacher labor force here in India. You all agree with me, or are you getting bored? Are you getting bored? Wanting to leave? Right, so, in a nutshell, I've said what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. Any questions? No questions? Were you sleeping? End of the day? Okay then, thank you. Since you're already tired and wanting to leave, I think I'll wind up.
Thank you, ma'am. This was very informative, and I hope all of us will take care while writing the proposal and while teaching in the classroom. And naturally, there were many more important things. But since the teachers, now we can say with the students, we are here for morning, and that's why you are seeing that we have less number
Yes.
of participants.
I was told there were 60 participants, but I can hardly see.
Registration is of 80 participants, but after afternoon lunch, it declines, and it is the same. I'm sorry for that. It is not in our own control. But anyhow, thank you, ma'am, and it was informative for us.